Hello YouTube, my name is Xiao, and in this video I'm going to show you what I do to paint my VFC MK48 airsoft replica. So what you see here is the main body of the replica, the optics I'm planning to use, and the foregrip, because it is a machine gun replica, so foregrip's always helpful here. Yeah, and I got some masking tape and scissors because there are some areas that we definitely don't want any paints to get into. So yeah, let's get started. So the first thing is that I personally always like to remove these these rear sights, because I always use the optics with these machine gun replicas. So I'm just going to take a let's see, is it 4? Not 4. Okay, so this is a 3mm hex screwdriver. Just go in there. There's 2 screws positioned diagonally, and yeah, after you use a little bit of force, it should come right out. So yeah, 1, and we got 2. Here we go. Of course, you can run these, but to me, these are just weights that I don't particularly need. So now, with the other side gone, I'm just going to quickly wipe the top side, maybe with a little bit of rubbing alcohol, just to clear out any grease residues. Okay, I think it should be pretty good. So now you do want to tape the other side, because you don't want paints to be sipping down through the screw hole that is now no longer there. So I'm just going to apply, the masking tape on the other side so that the paint doesn't go through. Pretty simple stuff. Okay, so now let's see if there's other areas we need to mask out. I think on this replica you might want to protect this this area right here, so I will put a little bit of tape around this, since that's where the box magazine interact with the internal magazine. So just to be safe, I will definitely tape this. Make sure it's not too long that interfere with the top cover closing. See? Cool. So now let's take a look at the optics. So we are using a ACOG clone here. It does come with the black color, which is totally fine because we're going to paint over it. But what you want to make sure is that you're covering all the area where light could possibly pass through. That means both the front and the back for the glasses. So here you go. Oh, you want to make sure it sits completely flat so that no paint's going to seep through. And then you're just going to cut gently around it for any extra masking tape. You can trim it a little bit more, just make sure you don't overcut. Okay. So this will go right here towards the front of the RMR. If you want it to look a little bit nicer, try to cut it flat and straight edge, just like this. But you still want to make sure it's covered. See, now this is a nice, not sure if you can get this, but it's a straight edge here. And then you just kind of cut around. A small scissor definitely will help if you have one. I actually have a small curved scissors, which is in general the best scissor for this job. So, see, pretty clean. So now you gotta do the back of the RMR red dot, which is going to generally take a much longer piece. This one is actually too short. Okay. Then you just trim off the edges like usual. Okay. Pretty good. Looking pretty good. And then last but not least, the object, the lens that you are seeing through the ACOG. Yeah, I mean, you might ask, why do I use this particular optics? Well, one of the biggest reason is that it is a magnified optics with the 4x in the main area, but I also get a integrated red dot on top, which I find is super helpful when I'm shooting and moving at the same time. So yeah, that's it. So you've sealed off all the 4 spots for this ACOG. But then, because ACOG has these red thing here, that's also something that you need to take care of. So I'm going to take a pretty long piece. Actually, maybe just a little bit longer. And I'm going to cut a strip that's roughly 1 inch wide and a little bit bigger at the end. Okay, so now completely sealed. This ACOG is good to be painted. And then we can open up the grip. We'll probably need this to install it. I think for the grip, I generally just tape the inside because we don't really want the grip getting harder to install because some additional paint is going to rub onto it. So I'm just going to take a stripe in the middle, just kind of tape it. It's a little too short. A little bit bigger. Actually, let's just use this. So yeah, alternatively, since nobody is going to see the other side of the grip, you could also just tape this whole thing. So you start from this side, you go underneath, right? And then you go on the other side, and here you go. That works. Okay, so now we can cut out the extras. Alright, we are good to go for the 4 grips. Pretty much. Okay, perfection. We're going for perfection here. Nice. So yeah, top is taped. That's all we care about. And one more thing to add is that you should tape the contact points for the box magazine at the bottom here. So you can just take one tape that's pretty wide, and that should cover both of the contact points. And yeah, that's it. Hello YouTube. Today I'm going to show you guys how you can paint your replica. So first you want to lay it out in the cardbox area so to prevent some overspray. Second, you want to make sure all your attachment is actually detached from the replica, so that in case you change your mind, you want to run a different attachment before, you're not left with a giant black mark on your replica. So now the replica is ready, and let's see the tools we need to use. So here are some of the supplies you will need. You first have the mask, gloves, and eye protection, and then you get the pencil templates. So you can get these from Amazon. I mean, pretty nice to create some patterns. And then you have the paint, which are Rust Olem Camouflage series. I got the flat khaki, green, and dark earth brown. And then we got the boiling water kettle and the bowl to pour the water in. This is basically to help you to warm up the paint so that it sticks to the surface better. So the first layer we're gonna apply will be the flat khaki. So this paint has been sitting in warm water for about 10 minutes now. So let's give it a quick shake. It's nice and ready and warm. So for the first layer, you want it to be as thin as possible, because you just want to create that initial bond between the paint and the replica. So let's see how it will look like. So this is roughly the effect you will be looking for. You can see that it's not super dense, but it is kind of dense enough to cover the base black color. Yeah, the way I'll do it is that I'll do this for both sides before I proceed to the next step. So now both sides are done. I also did a little bit more on the top and the bottom, so I kind of did it from both sides, and I also let it dry for maybe half an hour, and now we are ready to basically enforce the entire coat of khaki. So now let's do it. So now we have finished the first layer for khaki. As you can see, everything is covered, including the top, and we also finished the optics and the grips. So now we're just gonna let this dry, and then once it's in good shape, we'll come back and do the green and dark brown pattern. So now, as we have the green paint in warm water warming up, we have to talk about the selection for stencils for the colors. So I have made these kind of mistakes in the past, but in general, you want to use the stencils that have smaller cutouts like this one for brown, and you want to use these with bigger cutouts for green. The reason being that if your replica has too much brown, using the bigger cutouts, it's not going to look very good, because nature doesn't have that much blacks or dark colors. So yeah, that's just something to basically keep track of. Alright, the first stencil layer is done. Generally looks good, just some small artifact here. Outline is not enough, and a little bit of overspray over here. But in general, looks pretty good and ready to move on to the next side. Alright, so now the other side is done. For the green, we can take a look around this whole thing. Pretty well covered. Now time to move on to the dark brown color. So after repeating the same process for the dark brown color as the green color. Here is the completed replica. And check the other side. So yeah, that's all. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment below. Please like and subscribe. Thank you.